Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about whether renting a camper in Japan is a good idea. So, a lot of people are considering renting a camper these days. There are a lot of advantages, but also a lot of disadvantages. So, we'll be talking about both sides of that. We'll be answering questions such as, what are the pros and cons of renting a camper? What are some things to know before renting one? How much does it cost to rent one? And finally, who is camper travel really good for? So if you're interested in these topics, then please stick around for today's video. Also, alright guys, so let's get started with the pros first. And there are 4 main pros that I could find when it comes to renting a camper in Japan. Number 1 is freedom and flexibility. So a camper allows you to drive anywhere you want at any time without having to book anything in advance. So it's perfect for those of you who just want to take your time and really enjoy the journey, instead of just focusing on the destination itself. So you can drive along coastal roads, mountain roads, countryside roads. You can stay as long as you want at any location, and you can even change your plans last minute if you really want to. It's all up to you. You're in control of your own schedule, which is one of the biggest appeals of camping trips. The second pro is that it can save you a lot of money on hotels. As you probably already know, hotels in Japan aren't exactly cheap, especially if you're looking to stay in decent places. And that's why many people opt for cheaper alternatives such as hostels, capsule hotels, or Airbnb. But if you're looking for more privacy and comfort, while still saving money on accommodation, then renting a camper might be a good option for you. Alright, third pro is nature and scenery. So, if you're not familiar with Japan's landscape yet, then you're missing out. Because Japan has a lot of beautiful natural scenery to offer, from mountains to lakes to rivers to forests and beaches. And luckily, most of this amazing nature is located outside the cities. So if you rent a camper, you can actually experience all of this beauty firsthand, instead of just seeing it from the Shinkansen. And don't worry, there are plenty of places to stay right next to this nature, such as campsites and Michinoa, so you don't have to worry about being in the middle of nowhere. And finally, the fourth pro is that it's very pet-friendly and family-friendly. So, unfortunately, hotels in Japan aren't exactly pet-friendly. Most of them don't allow pets at all. But campers are a perfect solution for those of you traveling with your furry friends. Not only do they provide you with a comfortable place to stay, but they also come with all the necessary supplies such as food and water bowls, beds, and of course enough space to move around. In addition, it's also very convenient for families with young children because you don't have to worry about waking anyone up. When you need to use the restroom, or getting too cramped in a tiny hotel room, you have all the comforts of home when you're in a camper. Alright, so now let's move on to the cons, and there are 5 main cons that I could find when it comes to renting a camper in Japan. So number 1 is that it can be quite expensive up front. This is probably the biggest downside of camper travel. It's not cheap. It costs between 10,000 yen to 25,000 yen per day, depending on the type of camper that you choose and the season. And of course, this price doesn't include gas, tolls, or parking fees. So it can add up very quickly. So if you want to rent a camper for a whole week, then you're probably looking at spending close to 100,000 yen for just the rental alone. However, if you're renting a camper for a couple of months, then it can be a little bit cheaper, but still not by that much. So overall, renting a camper is definitely more expensive compared to staying in hostels or business hotels. And it's definitely not worth it if you're planning to do a lot of city hopping. That's why most people opt for traditional accommodations when they're visiting major cities such as Tokyo and Osaka, and they only consider renting a camper when they're going to more rural areas. Number 2 is that the roads are narrow and the parking is tight. Now, Japan's countryside roads can be very narrow and winding, and it can be difficult to drive a large vehicle like a camper, especially if you're not used to it yet. And of course, if you're driving on the left side of the road, it makes it even more challenging. In addition, it can be very difficult to find parking spots that can accommodate a camper, especially in cities. So, you'll need to plan ahead and book your parking spots in advance. Otherwise, you'll probably end up driving around for hours trying to find a place to stay. No. 3 is that there are no showers or toilets inside campers. Most campers in Japan are pretty small and compact, and it's just like a regular car on the outside. But it has a bed and a kitchen inside. so there's simply no space for a shower or toilet. Instead, you'll have to rely on public restrooms along the way. And luckily, there are plenty of Michi-Noa, rest stops along the highway where you can refresh yourself. But it's not always convenient, and it can be pretty embarrassing if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Number 4 is that toll roads are pricey. Now, Japan's expressways are well maintained, and they're a great way to get from one city to another. They're not free. Tolls can account for a significant portion of your travel expenses, so you'll need to factor that into your budget when planning your trip. A quick cross-country trip can easily cost you 20,000 yen in tolls alone. Okay, and finally, number 5 is that it can be challenging to drive on the left side of the road. Now, at first, it might seem like a fun challenge to try out something new, but after a while, it can become very tiring and frustrating, especially if you're not used to it yet. And it's important to note that Japanese road signs aren't always in English, which can make it even more difficult to navigate. So I recommend practicing driving on the left side before you actually hit the road with a camper. Okay, so now let's move on to our final section of the video. So who is camper travel really good for? Well, first of all, it's perfect for nature lovers because you'll get to experience all of Japan's beautiful landscapes firsthand. In addition, it's also great for people who hate following schedules. So, if you don't like planning things in advance and you just want to take your time and see where the road takes you, then a camper is perfect for you. Also, it's great for long-distance travelers because it's much more efficient to get from one city to another if you're already in a camper. So if you're planning on traveling around Japan for more than 2 weeks, then a camper might be a good option for you. And finally, it's perfect for couples, small families, or pet owners because you'll have all the comforts of home when you're on the road. Okay, so now let's move on to the costs breakdown. Now, it's important to know how much it costs to rent a camper in Japan before you actually hit the road because it can be pretty expensive. So here's a realistic estimate for 1 week in a camper. So the rental will cost you between 100,000 yen to 150,000 yen, depending on the type of camper that you choose and the season. Gas will cost you between 15,000 yen to 20,000 yen. Tolls will cost you between 10,000 yen to 25,000 yen. Campsite fees will cost you between 5,000 yen to 10,000 yen. And food is basically up to you, but if you're planning to cook inside your camper, then it won't be that expensive. Overall, you can expect to spend around 150,000 yen to 200,000 yen for a week-long camper trip. That's not including souvenirs or other miscellaneous expenses. So keep that in mind when you're planning your budget. Overall, renting a camper in Japan can be a fantastic experience. You get to see the country in a unique way, and you have the freedom to explore at your own leisure. However, it's not for everyone, and it can be quite expensive. But if you're planning to visit rural areas of Japan and you want to experience its beautiful nature, then I highly recommend giving it a try. Well, guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. We're here to help you with anything that you need. We have other videos that might be useful to you. So, please check them out, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.